Next on the Bronx Journal, a movement to convince Major League Baseball to retire Roberto Clemente's number, a Bronx band that is reviving the sound of Latin jazz, and our Reporters Roundtable to discuss some of the stories they are covering for the next edition of the Bronx Journal.
You're watching the Bronx Journal, the BronxNet television edition of the multilingual community newspaper, published by the students and faculty of the Journalism, Communication, and Theater Department at Lehman College. In print and on television, the Bronx Journal covers the issues concerning the people of the Bronx. Do you want to know what's going on in the Bronx? Are you interested in Bronx politics, sports, and entertainment? Are you interested in Bronx personalities? Do you want to keep up with the latest business or cultural trends? In the Bronx Journal, we have the answers. Now here's your host, the Bronx Journal's editor-in-chief, Professor Miguel Perez.
Many of the numbers worn by baseball superstars have been retired by their teams, but only Jackie Robinson's number 42 has been retired throughout Major League Baseball. But now there's a movement seeking the same recognition for the late great Roberto Clemente. The Retired 21 movement started right here in the Bronx, and its two instigators are here with us today. Julio Pabon runs a sports memorabilia store in the Bronx, and Byron Hunter is the executive producer of a documentary on Clemente. In fact, both Pabon and Hunter produced a documentary which is designed to promote the movement to retire Clemente's number. It's called The Legacy of 21, which is also the headline on the back cover of the new edition of the Bronx Journal. Well, gentlemen, welcome to the program. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, thank you.
Julio, you and I go way back many years.
Yes, in fact, the first article ever written about Latino sports and our first award back in 1990 was written by you in the Daily News. So it's nice to be back to my alma mater and seeing you again and seeing these great students.
It's great having you here, and please tell us why you think Roberto Clemente's number, it's been retired by the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's his team.
Sure.
That's where he played for 18 seasons, right?
Sure.
But why should it be retired throughout Major League Baseball?
Well, we think that right now baseball needs to retire the number because Clemente was more than just baseball. We know that he was a great super player. I mean, he wasn't just a superstar. He was a 5'2" player, which is very rare. Maybe 7 players in all of baseball were 5'2" players. He's been recognized for that. He's in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't the first Latino. He wasn't the first Puerto Rican. But he was the first where he took baseball out of the diamond and into the community and used his powers as a superstar to make that bridge with all races of people. And that's why today, even in places like Germany, in Japan, in Nigeria, my simplest way to answer that question to people is, why are there more places in this planet named after Clemente than any other player in the history of baseball?
Yes.
Why? Why would there be a park named after him in Germany when they don't play baseball? Why would there be a floating dollar in Nigeria? Why? Because they recognized that Clemente meant much more than baseball.
Mm-hmm. Byron, it also has a lot to do with the way he died, right?
I think to some extent people look at that, but I think that when you add that with the way he lived, I think that the meshing of those two things, because obviously there was the tragedy of his death, but also the sense of his commitment when he passed away. But I think that was the last reflection of really a lifetime of doing incredible things, and that was kind of the last thing. But I think his whole life was really something to admire.
And for our viewers who don't know, Roberto Clemente was killed in a plane crash.
Absolutely.
On his way from Puerto Rico to Nicaragua to take assistance to the victims of an earthquake.
Exactly. He was taking X-ray equipment in particular with that flight. He had helped organize X-ray machines, helped organize nurses, technicians, and mechanics to install those machines because Nicaragua was devastated. It had no X-ray equipment. There was one hospital, a women's hospital, that was functioning in Managua, and he helped raise that. 2 other flights had taken off, and they got there okay. But because there was a dictator named Anastasio Somoza, the materials was not leaving the airport. It was being kept there. And they kept on calling Clemente and saying, look, you need to come to Nicaragua because this stuff is not leaving the airport.
So
he
they
said
felt
to them,
that he would apply the pressure.
yeah, he said, I think I could do more from here. But eventually they convinced him. He went on the third flight, and that was the worst flight.
And his body was never found.
Never found.
Tell us a little bit more about this documentary, Byron, that you guys have put together.
Well, I think that, just so you understand the documentary, when Julio and I began researching this entire prospect of Roberto Clemente, the goal was literally to go to Pittsburgh because we just happened to be blessed with the thought at the time that the All-Star game was in Pittsburgh. And so we figured there are going to be a lot of superstar players, Hall of Famers, a number of very prominent people there. So why not go to a place where everybody is and get everybody's opinion? So the documentary was originally just a thought for us to go with our new camera equipment and check out and see what people thought. But after we got all of these reflections from over 60-something Hall of Famers, professional superstars in baseball, and we got an idea of what they felt, we said, wow, we have to tell this story because it's much bigger than even I thought at that particular time.
And the documentary consists of a lot of different interviews with a lot of current baseball players, sports analysts. Oh, even Bill Clinton is on the
politicians, community leaders, rappers, you know, you name it, with little kids. I mean, anybody who's everybody who's in front of our cameras, we grab them.
Well, I'd like for us to, our viewers, to take a look at a little portion of your documentary. So if we have it ready, let's watch that now.
Como hermanos con tu bondad, con tu grandeza, lo mucho que elaboraste, creo yo mi gran Clemente que el Señor te mandó a llamar para que formaras en el cielo un equipo de béisbol, un gran orgullo.
Is Roberto.
Exactly.
And that's the great Puerto Rican singer Ismael Miranda.
Correct, and that's from one of the original songs was Arsenio.
Oh, so they changed it to Roberto.
Exactly.
It's the same music.
Exactly.
So tell me about this documentary a little more, Julio. Why did you guys decide? Is it a tool to promote the campaign to retire the number?
Interestingly, no. It was never set out to be that way. I felt that the reason that perhaps they have not retired the number is just people just don't know enough about him. I know baseball commissioners should know a lot about baseball and about Clemente, but we thought that perhaps if he knew a little bit more. So our intent was just to document people talking about Clemente. The film has turned into an organizing tool because everybody that you spoke to about Clemente said so many things that the film only touches. But I mean, little kids in Pittsburgh who are now grown men who said, hey, this guy drove by a park, no press, nothing, just stopped there and decided to give us a clinic. Went to a hospital, no press, no clinic, I just wanted to go to a hospital. You know, people telling us stories how he spoke in Spanish so he can tell somebody in front of the owners, hey, you better ask for more money because they're not paying you enough. I mean, this guy was like, they say that he's like a mixture between a Malcolm X and a Martin Luther King. So this film brings that forth, and it has become an organizing tool. The last two showings after the film, 80% of the people never left the theater. They want to know how can we help in organizing this. That wasn't our intent. Our intent was to bring objectivity here, but the objectivity is that they should retire the number. In a moment, we're going to go to a break, but before we go, I want to tell our viewers that we're going to discuss a little more about, there's some people who say, look, Babe Ruth's number hasn't been retired. You know, people like Ted Williams, who was also a hero. He went and fought in the Korean War. His number has not been retired throughout Major League Baseball. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about